Good morning, everyone. That's right. You saw it right there. The Ocean City Reef Foundation. Support them. Get your own coffee mug. This is one of my favorites. Cheers, everyone. Good morning, Saturday, July 12th. I'm Dave Sikorsky with CCA Maryland, here to give you an update on the work we've been up to since my last one. What have we been up to in June and now in the start of July, and what's on tap? So, I'm sitting here in my home office in Baltimore, and I'm excited about some Baltimore events. Just yesterday, we finalized the details of the Rye for Reefs program and Rye for Reefs dinner. So Friday, September 5th, will be the Greater Baltimore banquet this year. It's right down at Port Covington Marina. It's the day before Oyster Blues and Brews. And so back-to-back days of great events and even a fantastic festival coming on Sunday that weekend at Port Covington Marina's a pizza festival. So fantastic weekend down at Baltimore Peninsula, which is becoming more and more common. In fact, next weekend, July 19th and 20th, of course, we've got great things happening at CCA. We've got the Hank Shaw down in Southern Maryland on Saturday the 19th. We have some lucky raffle winners fishing on the 18th. But back to Baltimore on the 20th, we have Tides and Vibes. And our focus this upcoming Sunday, the 20th, will be conservation and cuisine. And so there'll be some fantastic people there telling stories, connecting with folks. You can pick up free fishing equipment, go fishing, enjoy some music, vendors, hanging out in the shade by the water, enjoying a breeze is what the June Tides and Vibes was all about. And we're also excited to have the Charm City Seafood Festival overlapping with Tides and Vibes on the 20th. And so that's some exciting stuff coming up in Baltimore. But fast forward again back to September. Rye for Reefs is a launch party for a brand new partnership we have with Sagamore Spirits. We have a whiskey barrel finalizing the aging process right now, just shy of 10 years old, Sagamore rye whiskey that will be placed into bottles that will be custom numbered and labeled to support CCA Maryland's Living Reef Action Campaign. This program started at the Central Banquet with some auction winners winning an opportunity to come on a tasting earlier in June. And we did that with members from around the state that also helped make this program a reality. So multiple chapters are working together to come up with this program, the Rye for Reefs Whiskey Barrel Program. And so what that looks like is, if you're a connoisseur, if you know what a 10-year rye, 9-year rye is like, what we did is we picked a one barrel. Barrel number 83 now is ready to support CCA's Living Reef Action Campaign, and we'll be launching that at this event. And so stand by for a fantastic event or stand by for some updates about this fantastic. We'll be right next door to the Sagamore distillery. We're going to have fantastic different, signature cocktails, and there's lots of ways you can get involved and support that event. And so actually, I'll pull it right up on our website real quick, and you can find that Hank Shaw dinner with some tickets still remaining right on our website, ccamd.org, and support us in other ways. And then right here is the Tides and Vibes July information, and then the Rye for Reefs barrel release party. Click on our website here and then click for sponsorships and tickets. You will land on our GiveSmart event page. And so you can purchase tickets to attend. You can donate if you cannot attend. But more importantly, we want folks from the Baltimore area to get involved. As I talk about frequently, CCA is a volunteer-driven organization. We need our volunteers to come together to come up with great ideas like this program. That's how this one came about. Cheers to Mike Dardick, Stephen Holt, and others in the Annapolis chapter that brought this idea together to make it happen. And my point is, Baltimore, we need you. Let's rock and roll. This is our annual banquet. It's back-to-back days. Back to Oyster Blues and Brews real quick. That day, in fact, let me pull up the website real quick. So check out Rye for Reefs, and right there in Rye for Reefs on our website, on our calendar, is the Oyster Blues and Brews link. So the very next day, September 6th, a great event. Midday through the early afternoon, we have all these fantastic activities. We'll have live music. We'll have vendors. We'll have a youth fishing derby. In fact, I just found out this past week that it will be the Rod and Reef Slam Youth Fishing Derby and Family Fishing Derby. And we also have our fantastic partners from Combos for Kids from Anglers Sports Center. And so if you've been at OBB or Oyster Blues and Brews before, you'll know that we have free fishing for kids thanks to Combos for Kids and Chesapeake Bay Foundation, the Chesapeake Oyster Alliance, which CCA is a proud member of, doing the Rod and Reef Slam. And so we're bringing that back. It's 2023 again. Charter boats, small boats, shoreline fishing, stuff for the family. And again, the best part, my favorite part, the reason this entire event was created was, yes, to highlight habitat, oysters, fun, waterfront, Baltimore, but sending people home with free fishing equipment. And so we do that. And that's part of what your sponsorships can support in an event like this. So come on, come all. September 5th and 6th, we're going to have a good party up here in Baltimore, and I hope you all can make it. And as always, just head over to our website anytime you're looking for some information. And more importantly, everything happens so quickly. Hop on social media and follow us there as well. Speaking of social media, I think last weekend, many people who pay attention to fish stuff and are advocates and are connected to various channels may have seen President Donald Trump posting a video about the menhaden reduction fisheries in the Chesapeake Bay with lots of different perspectives of stakeholders and most importantly, Virginia stakeholders that know all too well the ridiculous impact that the removal of forage fish has from our Chesapeake Bay and how it's not guided in direct science that can say this is acceptable. There's so many different things cascading and moving in the wrong direction in the Chesapeake and things that we can and can't control. And we can absolutely control how much protein, how much forage we're taking out of the waterways, and what's being taken out of the bay has been too much for quite some time from my perspective and so many other people's perspectives that see what's happening on the water with these large industrial fisheries. So when a president, especially somebody like President Trump, from my perspective, put something out there, I think we can all expect further conversations here. And I don't know what's next, but I'd encourage folks to keep an eye out on things and support the organizations that are doing this amazing work. They're all over the place advocating for our fisheries. It's something that CCA has been involved with for so long, but there's so many other groups doing this work, and so kudos to everybody out there involved in making something get to the level of the fact that the president's talking about it. There's trade issues with Canadian-owned companies taking these fish out of our waters, feeding farm-raised salmon up in Canada, shipping them out throughout the world, probably large part to U.S. markets. And so, there's lots of things going on in this dynamic that's not just ecosystem-based. There's a lot of economics. There's a lot of complexity to these fisheries. So stand by to see what happens. And these fisheries will continue to be managed through the Atlantic States Marine Fisheries process. And so we actually have a meeting coming up in August, and I think a lot of folks are thinking, what type of federal or presidential executive action could occur if something does, because I think that's kind of out there in the rumor mill. Like, what's the president thinking? Why is he posting things about menhaden? So stand by for more. I think we're going to see something happen in the next couple of weeks, and either way, we've got the Atlantic States Marine Fisheries Commission meeting coming. So let me show that to you. You can find the link to the ASMFC in our link tree, which is in the video here at YouTube. It's on our, you can find it all over the place. It's in my signature in our emails. It's on our Instagram. It's the link in our bio. It helps you find some of these links I talk about in these videos that we frequent. And so I serve as the Atlantic States, as an Atlantic States Marine Fisheries Commissioner, as an ongoing proxy for Delegate Dana Stein. And so I participate in these meetings. And you'll see in a moment here, as I scroll down to the calendar, how busy the commission is in managing a lot of these species coastwide. And so menhaden are on the agenda in the summer meeting in August. We've also got some stuff coming up for red drum and striped bass. So I think these are the top three on my radar as a board member coming up to this meeting. I mean, every meeting has important things happening, but the menhaden, of course, especially with everything going on with the higher level politics and discussion right now, it'll be interesting to see what happens at the August meeting. Striped bass, I've talked about a lot in the past. Earlier this spring, we were looking at advancing a addendum that includes some changes for Maryland, possibly, and yet to be decided potential changes coastwide. And so the board has been waiting to see some updated data, and that was just presented. And so I'm just highlighting this calendar because this coming week, there's some important meetings that if you have the time and you're interested in this stuff and you want to be informed and are willing to sit through some of the long conversations around how these plans are being developed and what's happening. Some of those meetings are happening this week. And then up top here, you can find the summer meeting link, and you can, if you're in the DMV, come on down to the meeting. They're open to the public. It is during the workday, so it's not easy for everyone, but it's also right there on your computer. You can live stream. So Meeting materials will be posted later in July, the specific details of everything. And that's what the meetings next week are building up to. That's all the folks doing all the hard work to advise the board and all the various committees and such that all connect to the agenda for the August meeting. And so I say this because I think if you listen in related to these pending actions right here, striped bass draft addendum and red drum draft addendum, these are important things to our anglers. They're very important species to CCA and rec anglers and the American public, up and down the Atlantic coast and the Gulf Coast. And so we're talking Atlantic management here. I'll give you a quick update on what's going on with both species. Striped bass, like I said, Maryland is looking to change the baseline of our seasons. Make things a little more even on the calendar related to the dates and start of the month, end of the month, closures, not closures, sort of resetting based on our experiences given the last 5 years of regulations, which closed down some fishing in the spring, the access in the spring that we said is not beneficial to the fish and therefore it's impactful to the economy, and we probably shouldn't take away those types of periods of the year. We try and take away as few days as possible if you have to make the most impact on reducing mortality, yet leave the most opportunity around the calendar, because I think that provides the best access for the public to enjoy their resource. And then we have to, of course, balance the realities of fishing. All fishing can lead to mortality for fish. And so we want to be careful that we are mindful of hot summer periods for the striped bass. And that's why Maryland DNR has closed the summer for many years. And so the baseline is in discussion, has had continuous review, and will be potentially part of an addendum that we talk about. It will definitely be talked about at the August meeting, might be part of an addendum we release. The other piece of that addendum was sort of left behind previously, because I think the board was looking at the data and the removals in recent years and feeling, okay, I think we're all right. I think we're still headed towards that rebuilding trajectory, albeit we're probably not getting to it as quickly as many would like. And we're absolutely limited by Mother Nature and what spawns can provide to truly add more fish into the system. And so my point is that we were looking at potential reductions, but recognize that given all the reductions that have happened, we want to be cognizant of the absolute, all the other things that impact businesses and our infrastructure and our communities that rely on the fish, that you don't realize how important it is until it's gone. And so that's on my mind a lot as a board member, trying to balance it, trying to say, do we take reductions? Do we not? We all know we need more striped bass, but it's not a simple problem to solve at the board level. We're really looking at trying to keep as many fish in the water as we can to sustain the population, and we can't replace the population. That said, I've had some recent interesting conversations with folks around stock enhancement and hatcheries and what that means. And who knows? It's been done in the past. It's done in other fisheries. It's debated in many ways for good reason, and that's just the way these things work. And so maybe there will be a time where we're putting striped bass in the water to benefit fisheries. Maybe not. I don't know. But there's a lot going on in that, and I just want you to tune in if you have a chance and recognize that there could be changes for the 2026 season. There's some brand new science coming in 2026, and some board members are thinking, can we wait for that? Maybe. I don't know. But I would expect, now knowing what we're hearing, maybe some changes coming in 2026, which will mean less access for recreational anglers, which of course is never ideal, and something that we are all concerned about. So same situation for red drum, at least in the South. The South has had some issues with the red drum populations, and the South, technically, as we speak to ASMFC, is South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida, the East Coast of Florida. And there's a lot of complexity to what's happened in the South recently. Florida took proactive action to be more conservative than they needed to be per the ASMFC plan. There's maybe some blank spots in our understanding of the various populations and portions of the population as it moves up and down the Atlantic coast. And so it leads to a little bit of management uncertainty. But from my perspective as a Marylander, looking at what South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida are doing, they're top-notch managers and really in tune with these sport fisheries and how important they are. There is enhancement work being done by our partners at CCA Florida. There's like I said, a bunch of top-notch folks that are really looking at this, and I believe there may be some tweaks coming out in this addendum, and so keep an eye on that. I'll leave the technical folks and the board members in that region to speak on their perspectives on that. because we have a northern region for red drum too, and that's really where my mind is focused and really directly impacts our fishery. That's from North Carolina to the north. And so we have these large, big redfish that we share up and down the coast. And then, as Marylanders have seen, we've seen upticks of the small fish, maybe twice, 3 times in the last decade, where you have what I would call a puppy drum, sub slot or in the slot, and then growing out of it quickly and then disappearing, and then all of a sudden they're back as these 40-inch or 40-pound fish out there chasing menhaden. So there's some red drum experiences we have here in Maryland. They're different than Virginia. They're different than the Potomac River. Well, guess what? All 3 jurisdictions have different size limits too. And so at the last meeting, I spoke in favor of at least considering how we can tweak some rules, be a little proactive, and balance out the complexity of regulations in the region, because we have 3 different regions or 3 different places that in a simple boat ride you can overlap, one state to the other to the jurisdiction. And so it's a difference of 1, 2, and 3 fish bag limit in different slots. And so it's my hope that the red drum addendum for the northern region will include some good proposals and good options for the public to provide comment on. And then in both cases, both these addendums, they will be back in October, if the process continues as normal, at the annual meeting, which will be held down in coastal Delaware this October. And we'll be deciding what the last details are on these plans. And so multiple steps for you to get informed, check out and see what you're hearing. Reach out to me as a board member if you have concerns, if you're one that wants to follow along, provide public comment through this process, and always keep an eye out on what we have to share. Anything from menhaden redfish, cobia, striped bass, all the different fisheries that are happening are managed on different levels. And it's our role to advise and educate you and make sure that you know how to engage in this process and be an informed angler and an informed person that can provide input to this system. So I hope y'all can join in and follow along on all of that right now. But stand by. There's much more to come. And in the meantime, follow us on social media, get involved, check out some of the links I've mentioned. You'll find them in our link tree. And most importantly, Baltimore especially, come on out. Let's rally. Let's invite our friends and family. Let's get sponsors and come together to rally around Rye for Reefs, our Baltimore banquet this year. I'm a Baltimore member. And I'm excited about this program with our chapter president, Melody Holmes, and so many other great folks in our chapter. Let's throw a good party. Let's raise some money. Let's make some families really happy at Oyster Blues and Brews, enjoying themselves. I hope your family's part of that. And I hope to see you at Tides and Vibes on July 20th. And if not, at the Hank Shaw dinner on July 19th. I can't wait to eat my way through that evening. So I hope to see you all soon. And I hope you're out there having a good time on the water. Be safe and keep an eye out for those thunderstorms.